can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear him.
And tonight we've got the honour of having Mr. Simon Bean, MBE.
Your mic's breaking up, Nathan.
Who's is breaking up? Nathan's.
Yeah.
See, the thing, brand new microphone out of the box as well.
Wow.
I'm saying that, if you notice, before we went live, everything was fine.
Yeah. It's always the way, though, isn't it? That's the way it is. It's just one of them things.
Right. It is, unfortunately. Problems tonight. Right. Hello. Evening, Danny. Evening. Gary, do you want to kick off? Because you're pretty sort of very good on certain topics. We was just talking about one. I think a lot of people really need to start to get grips with, really.
Yeah, well, people think, oh, leave it to somebody else, you know, and you know this as well, Simon. People are just leaving it. Oh, somebody else will do it. Somebody else will do it. That's not going to be the case, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't stand for your children yourself, then you are complicit in everything that's going along. You might not think you are, but you are, because your inability, whether it's inability or you're just scared or whatever it is, not to get involved, is consent. It's, you know, you saying, I'm okay with all of this because you're complying with it all. You've got to start and stay no. It's only one word, capital letters, N-O, no. And then once people start doing that, we can start to get somewhere, because it's not going to get anywhere while you've got the few doing things and then the masses just sitting thinking, oh, well, these guys have got it covered. Because that ain't the case. It's going to need everybody to do this. What do you think, Simon?
Good evening, everybody. I'm with you, Gary and Nate. You know, every time I'm told something, I question it. And that's because I guess I'm just naturally suspicious anyway. Always have been. As soon as you hear something, don't take it for gospel, because it's probably not true. If it's got an element of truth in it, go and research it, see if you can expand on it. Make sure you corroborate it from at least 3-4 other sources. If things start to ring true, then that's great. It probably is true. If you want to comply with that, well, that's up to you. But if you want to not comply with that, not stand under it, let's say, then say no. As Gary said, no is the shortest word going, and it's probably the first word that we all learn once we crawl away from our mums. No. You know, and it's a powerful word because it's short and it's brief. And it can only mean one thing. And you can say it harshly and you can say it softly, but it means the same. No means no. And you must learn to say that. Must.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in this climate we've got now.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And after that, when you say no, there's a little delay, so I'll try and I think it's just with me.
Slow down, Knife. Slow down when you talk.
Baby talk.
Okay. I think there's a delay. I think it's only in my end, so I'll try and sort of wait.
Yeah.
It's a signal mine, I think. Fine. Playing up everything all in me. Says everything's good. So I don't know. But yeah, there's the thing, say no, and it's not just saying no, it's how to say no. It's like someone says, the word no can be very expressive, phonetically, and multiple ways of saying no, and showing your intent as well. And this is two things people have really got to understand. It's mental intention and physical action. Those are what governs all. Those are what makes for a crime, or what like for the government. Just mental intent, physical act, form of guilt is based on that. And I would say if you went up and down the country and you asked anybody, if any jury in any town, if you used to put basically in a nutshell what the government do on a daily basis, most of them would say it's a crime, or the very standard of a crime. So we've got to learn to say no. It's how we say no. We've tried many different ways. We've tried doing protests from marching. We've all tried groups separate from each other. Now's the time when it's time to come together. It's you. This is key.
Yeah.
Because we need something bigger than people. That is us. Whichever way you cut it.
Yeah.
I think, because people want to be amiable, don't they? And they want to have friends, and they don't naturally want to be difficult. So yes becomes a natural word to say all the time. Do you fancy going out Saturday? Yeah, I'll go with you. That kind of thing. Whereas no is the difficult word to say in your head, even though it's the most easy word to say out your lips, isn't it? I think that's where we're sort of coming from, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we just need to learn to do it more. And because it's a British thing. A British thing is to sort of say, yeah, all right, then sort of bend easy, break and strain of a Kit Kat. Whereas really what you want to say deep down is no. And if you travel the world and you speak to people like the Americans, Canadians to a point, they haven't got a problem with saying no. And we just need to learn that one word and just say it more often. Do you comply? No. Are you happy with this? No. Have you got enough money? No. Do you like that food? No. Yeah, we don't do it.
I
And
mean,
we have to do it.
Well, this thing.
Exactly what a lot of people don't realise is once you've said that now, it empowers you because you realise it works. You've suddenly now got a voice you didn't have before. It's just losing that fear to actually say no the first time when you don't agree with something. Because people have got to understand yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, you are powerful. You are sovereign. You have more power than you think. And that's just as an individual. When you come together with that sovereignty and them voices, you become much more powerful, basically invincible, because these people who are governing you are supposed to govern you by consent, and they're not. What's basically happened, you've got a mirror effect going on, and reality is switched, and they now think they are our masters and we are their slaves, and it's not. It's the other way around. They actually serve us, and that's where you've got to start learning and doing your research on, that our constitution is all about the parliament serving us, not the other way around.
Yeah, totally right. Totally right. And the constitution, the government doesn't want you to know that the constitution is alive and kicking, even though it has been since the Magna Carta. They don't want you to believe that common law still exists, and it does. And even if you just learn the basics, when you are stopped and you're asked a question in the street by a police constable, you know exactly how you can divert his attention and send him onto somebody else who perhaps isn't quite au fait with the old common law. So it's very, very useful, and it's something that I've learned probably since about 2017, 2018, and I have you two characters really to thank for that, along with a few others on Facebook. But you two sort of instilled it into me, and it's worked a dream, because here I am touching lots of wood. I've never been arrested for anything that I've got up to on the street whilst protesting, and standing up for my inalienable rights.
That's the one. See, this is the thing about common law. As long as most of it, the majority of it, really is about breaching the peace, because most actions breach the peace, whether it be your peace, my society's peace. So once people understand So anything, for instance, like when they get out or they start catching that in assault, because assault is the threat of violence. Battery is the actual act. As soon as they come onto the street and they start bucking up against us, they're actually committing a breach of peace. Just look at, as Gary says, a lot of it's a mirror image. If we was all to do the same, we would be arrested or dispersed for a breach of the peace. No one's above the law, and this is what we've got to realise in this country. The police are not, the government's not, the king's not. Especially, I don't think we should. I don't know. I haven't really looked up what's gone on with the Northern Ireland Protocol yet, but apparently he's claimed to be king already. But this is what our law in our lands. They're there to keep our society protected and there to keep peace. So if there's something happening in society that is peace, whether it be a group of people doing certain things, whatever it's gone. But as long as you do it with the right way, we can actually stop this. I mean, a lot of people don't realise we actually have a lawful duty to actually stop a lot of the crimes that are going on. Look up the laws on our ability to constrain. Constraint is one of the main things, and that is technically using force.
Yeah.
That's where things like Section 3 of the Criminal Law Act of 1967.
As you all know, Nathan, and you, Simon, that straight away, what's been signed today is high treason, because no foreign prince or prelate should be allowed to have any governance in this country. They've got no rights signing our sovereignty over to a foreign entity. And that's exactly what they've done today. And we can bring these to book for this, but we've got to do it lawful and peaceful, and it needs people. Just like when we went into CARD, it needs people. That's all it's lacking. You get the backing of the people and the sovereignty of the people. These people have to sit up and listen. But at the moment, they're not, because not enough people are bothered, can't be bothered. It doesn't affect me at the moment. And like I said yesterday on my video, not at the moment, but it can affect you in a heartbeat. You could wake up tomorrow and you could be having your door banged in, telling you that you've got to come out of there under the clause I've just told you earlier.
Yeah.
You know, and
now,
people need to wake up.
This is that thing with the WHO, is it?
Yeah.
That's been signed today.
But basically, Simon, it's unlawful. It's contrary to common law. It's unlawful, and it's treasonous. It's sedition.
Yeah.
And subversion. They should not have done it, because
exactly.
The basically on there today
malfeasance,
and said,
misprision, treason.
We speak for everybody. We speak for everybody in the United Kingdom, and they can't do that.
The people at the WHO tried doing this during the pandemic, didn't they?
Yeah.
And then it sort of went away for a bit.
Yeah, they did do it again.
Yeah, and a lot of countries spoke up against it, etc., including a lot of the African countries, 47 of them. But here we are now. It's crept back in again through the undergrowth, like most things do. And of course, Sunak was on doing a live speech in the Commons about an hour ago, talking about what is achieved with the Northern Ireland Protocol and saying that's the final bit to get us out of the EU. But he's given nobody a chance yet to read the actual document. The devil's always in the detail. So what's the bet in tomorrow? There's going to be issues with it again, because people
very much so.
are going to have overnight to read it and say, well, hang on, you haven't thought about this, or you've left a door open for that over there. And anything that you do that is negotiated with the EU, especially that Ursula von der Leyen, who can't be trusted at all, leaves a back door open for something to sneak in and once again attack our constitution.
Yeah, you're spot on.
Nothing's a done
this
deal.
is the thing. This is the problem with a lot of EU treaties. This is the problem with a lot of EU treaties. There is so many back doors clause in UN treaties for that matter as well. I mean, just look at the Human Rights Declaration. It actually states in the preamble that they only have to take the rights into consideration. That's before you even get into the document. They're already telling you, yeah, we may consider it, we may not. But it's the same with all European treaties, all UN treaties. They've got about 30 back doors. So no matter what door you shut, they've always got another one that they can go through that onto another treaty, onto another declaration, just rake back what allowed in the first place. It's a constant fight.
But this is where Article 61 comes in, because every one of these treaties, that's why the barons, especially the Nice Treaty, the barons invoked Article 61 because of that reason, because it was high treason. Now, all these other treaties, the Maastricht Treaty, Barcelona Declaration, Marrakesh Agreement, all of them, going right back, they can all be squashed under 61, because once you go and put your power to the balance, because basically, I'll explain it again, ladies and gentlemen, 61, what you're doing, you are transferring your sovereignty and your right of consent to be governed from the monarchy and the parliament to the barons, because that's what you're supposed to do when your country is under tyranny, oppression, and corruption. It's not only your moral rights, it's your lawful duty to go. You're compelled to do 61 because it makes you complicit in the crime if you don't. Now, when you sign into 61, the barons take over, and we become the barons' army. So the barons will instruct you what to do, when to remove this, when to stop paying this, when to stop doing that, when to start doing this. The barons will organise it all, and the barons will, be the ones who will get these arrested, get them tried in a court of law. And this is what these people fear the most. They fear the people uniting and transferring their sovereignty from them to the barons, because they know once that happens, it's game over for them. But it's convincing the people to do this. But it's got to be done if you want to save your children. If you want a future for your children, it's the peaceful way, it's the lawful way. Or we'll end up with civil war, violence, and
again,
everything on
we come back to consent.
And nobody wants it. Well, I wouldn't have thought so. Carry on, Nath.
I mean, again, we come to consent. People understand what's
terrible.
For instance, being said to be governed. If you go, it's not my mic, it's the internet.
You're speaking in Morse code.
The mic out of the box, so it's not mine.
I understand.
But, if you vote, you consent. I'm going to let you two talk, and I'm just going to think because my mic's crap.
No,
I'm just being horrible. I didn't mean it.
But this is the thing: consent is given in many different ways, and this is what people got to realise. Remove yourself in the electoral roll. Remove yourself in the very basically modem they use to actually do this to us. If you're voting, you're consenting before they even do it. You're literally signing a blank check before they do anything. Yeah. This is what we've got to realise. And people go, yes, you've got to vote, but we also have the right not to vote and not to be governed. And that's what voting is about. You're consenting for these people to do what they're doing in the way they're doing it. The only way we're going to stop this, in my opinion, is to come off the electoral roll, come out of the voting system, force an illegitimate parliament, and then we get the normal people, all the independents that actually run again, and we actually have a proper election.
Yeah. Well, with that said, a lot of people choose not to vote.
We've got to remove the corruption before we go any further.
A lot of people choose not to vote now anyway. So in a partial way, they're already invoking their rights to Article 61, aren't they? In a small way, by saying, well, I'm not voting. They're two cheeks of the same arsehole.
Well, this is the thing.
I don't want either of them, so I'm not voting.
Well, this is the thing. It's the only way to actually force an illegitimate parliament. If enough people vote, then you're pretty much saying we're okay with what's happening. And that's implied consent is the
People tend to go though with the lesser of the two evils.
tools
That's
they
the
use
issue, isn't
to
it?
do this. Constable says, "Do you understand?" What he's saying is, "I've just made you stand under what I've said."
Yeah.
I mean, there's many different ways they took us with, and this is part of what we've got to learn. This is part we've got to stop.
I agree. Now, the only way I can see that we're going to stop anything is through unity. Now, I stepped away from Facebook, all social media, apart from doing the odd Maverick Veteran YouTube video, for 18 months. I dropped both my Twitter accounts. I dropped the Facebook account. I dropped Telegram. I dropped, you name it, I dropped it. Just couldn't be bothered with it. And a lot of that was down to the aggravation that you get when you're trying to make people listen to your point of view, which happens to be the same point of view as the many, but they don't want to listen to that because they're more interested in getting their point of view across, which is the age-old adage of my ego is bigger than your ego. Now, I'm not too bothered about egos, which is why I tend to be a bit of a lone wolf, and I just sort of join in whatever sort of fight I think I need to join in. And that said, before I backed out of Facebook, I was a member of about 25 different groups. So I was showing unity by being a member of all those 25 groups, and they were fighting anything from terrorism to government to Northern Ireland veterans to children's issues to women's rights, you name it. I was in that group and having my 10 penny worth. Now, I'm not the only guy that's in a shed load of groups. So when we need unity, it shouldn't be too difficult, surely, for all these groups to unify as one and move forward as one. The only thing that's preventing that is the fact that each group has its own section of leadership, and that leadership doesn't want to revoke or let go of its ego. So the leadership of each group needs to really, if you like, sit aside if it can't handle it, or step down, and then all the people in all the groups form one group. And that way we move forward as one, and we fight every single issue simultaneously, and we overwhelm the government's agenda.
Yeah. Well, you've known myself and Nathan a long time, Simon, and you know we've only ever helped. We've never tried to cause division. We've been the same from day one. Unity, Article 61, the Constitution. That's the message we've been putting out since 2014. We've never changed. We've never flip-flopped, because we believe that is, and we've proved it is the way forward. But just people have got to believe in it. And like I said, when this comes off, if it comes off and people come on this march and it comes off, it's not me and Nathan and you and others who are going to get the credit. It will be the Constitution. It will be the Bill of Rights, Constitution, our inalienable rights, and Article 61, which has been left in us in perpetuity by our ancestors. All we've done in these difficult times is picked up the baton and used the same tools they used before, but it's not our idea. It's there for everybody anyway. We just learned about it and we're telling you it works. That's all we've ever done.
And I'm with you on that 100%.
You know, and
so,
like this march we're doing now, we've said from day one, it doesn't matter what colour, what creed, what your religion you're from. We are in the shit, and you can put them things aside. You can sort that out after. But while we're all bickering about these things, we're being enslaved by stealth by this government. We need to come together. All these people need to come together, sort out our children's futures and our own futures first. So we've still got freedoms. It's no good everybody arguing amongst each other, but you're all slaves, is it? That's no
right.
good, is that?
Is my mic any better?
It's a bit better now. Before
Yeah, it is. What have you done? Got a new one?
No, I've come in on a different device. So
That's better now.
You've sorted it.
You see what I'm saying? That to me, you've got to put everybody's got to put your differences aside, get your freedoms and your rights and your dignity and everything back and your liberties, and then you can argue.
Totally agree.
well, this is the thing. It's like Simon said as well. It's like we've all been members of most of us are members of loads of different groups. Now we all talk to people in them groups, so unity shouldn't be far of reach, really. I mean, it's like Gary says, if we can actually just, as groups, if we actually look at the source of our problem, so instead of trying to put out fires and look at like the secondary, let's look at the primary problem. And pretty much when you look at the primary problems for all of our problems, it points to the same direction, and that is government. That is, whether it be treaties, whether it be it's politics and it's bureaucracy. That is the common source of all our problems. So if we actually can unite on the very tools that actually stop the very primary start of all these problems, surely that is worth uniting under. Surely we can all get behind that if we can just unite for the greater cause to bring to account the basic elements of what's actually causing all the problems throughout our societies, all of them. Surely we can come together on that.
Yeah. It's like Nathan said in his video of yesterday, it's no good running to your MP or writing a tweet to your MP every time there's an issue that you disagree with, because he's powerless. Yeah. Once he's got a little rake of little pile of complaints, he can go into Parliament and he can stand, if Mr. Speaker lets him.
Yep.
And he can say, the people in my constituency aren't happy with this. Can I invite you to come and pay a visit? And the Prime Minister will just turn around and say, oh yeah, I'll get one of my other MPs to come and speak to you. And that's it. That's the end of it. But if you get your local council involved and you harangue the head of your council and he passes that straight on to the MP because he feels now as though he's under pressure, the MP is then going to pull out more of the stops and make damn sure that the people in the Cabinet Office, the right honourables, actually do something about the issues. Yeah,
that's exactly how it's done, Simon, because people think the MPs have the power, but the council has more power than the MP does. Yeah. People are misunderstanding where the power lies.
Yeah. A councillor has always had more power than an MP. If you've got an issue, if you live in a council house and you've got an issue with your hot water, you don't go to your MP, you go to the councillor, and it's the councillor that sorts it there and then. Because the MP just says, yeah, all right, I'll get to it. And eventually he hands it down to the councillor anyway, who then makes it happen. Yeah. So you may.
And that's why the MPs are complicit in everything going on, because at this moment in time, they can't be held accountable for what they do, because it's due process. For you to get a resolve and a resolution to it all, you've got to do the due process. You have to go to the council, who are above him anyway, and they rollick him and tell him, listen, you're going to bring us both down here. You get in there and get this sorted, because now I've got everybody in this constituents on my back. And that's how you deal with it. Write it to the MP, he'll just ignore it because he knows that ain't the due process anyway. So you've got to learn. Yeah.
Local MPs, the greatest lie ever told, really. It used to be that MPs had clout, and it used to be that MPs could do things, but MPs now, that they are a vassalous entity, if ever I've seen one, really. I mean, it's like you say, you'll understand this, Simon. It's like with the military and government, there is people in the military that serve for like 20, 30 years. They all know things that people in Parliament will never ever know.
Yeah.
Because Parliament come and go. You've got
Yeah.
a person that's in a seat for 2 to 4 years maximum. So then you're never going to have an MP that's got his finger on the button and can do anything or has any real clout, because he's not there long enough, and he can't. I mean, we've got, in our constitution, we've actually got a clause in our constitution that means that no Parliament can bind the Parliament that's coming after them. So there's nothing that they can do that's set in stone. But each constituency, it doesn't matter whether you're Labour, Tory, all of them are the same. They are working for a corporation. They are not working for the people anymore. And until we actually come away from this fraudulent voting system and actually instill a true democratic voting system again, we're just voting for the same. We've got to stop. We've got to stop the illusion.
That's why MPs, if you approach an MP with a question, that MP, if he can't answer it straight away because it's not come across his table before, who's he going to ask? The civil servant that's pulling his string, because the civil servant has probably been doing that job for donkey's years. He knows the job inside and out. He knows how to shortcut a system. He knows how to make life difficult. And so he's the perfect bloke to advise the MP. And then the MP just comes and advises you on something that he's had to find out. So if he wants to make you go away, he'll get a difficult answer from that civil servant. If he wants to accommodate you and bring you forward and assist you, he'll make damn sure that civil servant gives him the short, snappy answer. But it's the civil servant, really, that runs the policy and everything within our country. And it's pretty much the same the world over.
Yeah. I'll give you an example how that works. When you're out on the marches and the constables come across you, if they're uncertain of anything, they phone the desk sergeant, because the desk sergeant has to be, as they say, literate and competent in common law.
Yeah.
Constitutional able in common law. So you'll always go, you'll always hear them saying 1 minute, and they go, hello, Sarge, and you hear them talking to the desk sergeant.
Where's he's froze. He froze for a little bit there, Gary.
Yeah.
It's not just me then.
So basically what I was saying is it works the same with the police. The police, when they pull you over or whatever, if they think you know more about common law and you're beating them and they ain't quite sure how to deal with you, they'll get in touch with the desk sergeant, because he is constitutionally able.
Yeah.
And that's how that works.
All constables are meant to be constitutionally able, because constable is an abbreviation of constitutionally able. All constables are meant to be, because this is what a lot of people don't realise, because I've had this argument. Yes, all constables attest their oath to common law. So it is under common law. This is why I don't agree with common law constables exactly, because constables, we all under common law have the right to arrest and intervene in crimes and stuff like that. We are all the police. It's just the police constables get paid to dedicate their time, their daily routine to it, basically. But all constables attest to common law, but they do actually have legislative abilities. But again, it's like Simon said earlier, they have to get you into a certain position. You'll often have a lot of legislative abilities when they're a constable. For instance, officer, for instance, an officer can't actually make an arrest. It has to be a constable, unless they do it under the right of citizens' arrest. It's very tricky the way they do it. Most of them don't actually know they do it themselves. But all constables are autonomous, and this is what a lot of them have got to start realising again. Because as soon as they leave that police station, even though they've got superiors, we don't have to say chief, they're all constables to us. But when you're in the uniform, rank applies. But when you're outside of that police station, you're autonomous. So you are the high, as a constable in his uniform in proper attire, is the highest authority to himself.
Yeah.
And this is what a lot of them have forgotten. That they've forgotten that they actually have an oath. They actually have a duty to the public and to uphold the common law, basically breaching the peace. But a lot of it is commerce laws they uphold. And most of them don't even know what. I've got people that witnessed this. I've been in many courts, and most constables cannot even answer a simple question: "Are you constitutionally able constable?" They go, "What? I don't know what you mean." That means you're not fit for purpose. You can't do your job. And this is what we've got throughout the police, throughout Parliament. We've got people who don't know how to do their job because they haven't had to. I mean, let's face it, MPs haven't had to do their job since 1971 because it's all been done from Brussels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But just read off a script.
That's the problem we face. We've now got. This is why I think it's the perfect time to come away from this corrupt system, and then we need to start instilling an education with our MPs. For instance, you need to know, or is it state in our constitution? You need to know the laws and mean to observe them well. So you need to know the constitution and you mean to observe it well. And any malfeasance in that. I mean, because this is what people don't realise. When we done the Fabian arrest and we arrested Carl and Stam and stuff like that, the police did actually back it. It's just it lacked the public, again, it lacked unity, it lacked the public getting behind it. But what a lot of people don't realise is we can still actually broaden them arrests. We can still actually broaden the charges as well. Malfeasance at common law level still holds up to life imprisonment. This is what a lot of people don't realise. This is why we go for certain things, because they're the more powerful laws. I mean, if malfeasance still holds up to life imprisonment, and we've got things like sedition, misprision of treason. There was a long list of charges that they went for, and the police actually backed it. That's why I'm going to find it very interesting when the police are confronted with the fact that they backed going against the treason and to uphold the constitution and law. So if they're now turning around and they're backing the treason, that's going to put themselves in a very sticky situation, isn't it? But again, all constables, they hold liability in their personal capacity, in their private capacity, because we all are. It's another thing as well, because people just think if you go under common law, you get to do what you want. You don't. We're all liable for our own actions. We all have to be responsible.
It's like that old saying, I was just following orders. No, you can't say that. Because you say, you're a policeman, yeah, you're supposed to know common law, yeah. So you know treason is wrong, yeah. So forget about following orders and that. You know that's morally wrong. You should not have gone along with that. You've got your own mind, and this is where they're going to slip up in the long term, because they think they're going to have the back. And you know as well as I do, Nathan, when it goes to court, because I've had it myself, they throw the constable under the bus. They don't care about one constable. He can be replaced. And this is what these police constables need to understand. When you go up in court and they think, oh, you've done wrong, you're going to lose, they'll back away from you. You're on your own when you're took to court, as you know, in your private capacity as a police constable. Your units, if it's West Midlands Police or whatever, they will step away and gladly watch you burn.
Yeah.
So be very careful when you're serving police constable with all this treason you're pushing.
Look at the case I've just helped out with Lance, the man who took the gallows up to Parliament. Within his case, I helped him actually prove that the investigating constable, because he got arrested for one incident, and they supplied, then it changed to a different arrest. But they used the evidence of the first arrest to convict on the second arrest. They was about 3 hours apart. But we actually proved that the lead investigating constable knew that the charge had been changed within 24 hours of it doing so, and made no investigation into it. Just, well, that'll do. He made no investigation into the new charge at all, even though the evidence they had nothing to do with the charge he was actually being charged for. And the court threw him to the wolves. Not the prosecution barrister, not a single person helped him out. Not threw him a bone or anything. It was just, well, yep, you're screwed. Yeah. He actually said as well, because CPS, and this is the problem we find with a lot of constables. His excuse was CPS didn't tell him to investigate. Well, I'm not being funny. It's his job to investigate and put a case to CPS, not the other way around. CPS don't dictate what a case is and what's not. But this is the problem we have. We've got a lot of people who are just not trained right. And this is what we've got to understand as well, because the police are not our enemy. The men and the women in them uniforms, whether it be the army, the police, they're not our enemies. They're ill-educated, they're misled, the same as many of us have been before. I mean, let's face it, we all took a little time to wake up. We didn't just all was born like this, sort of knowing all what we know now. A lot of us have had our eyes open, so we're getting a lot. I mean, Kent Police is, because I've been talking to a couple of people, Kent Police now are looking at losing 1 out of every 6 officers, or constables, should I say, because, and I quote, the reason why they say they're leaving is because they don't feel like they're respected by Parliament or the public.
Yeah.
And this is what the situation we're getting here. The police have put themselves into that predicament, so they've got to make a choice, either or either.
Because it's all about now, this, with the police as well, it's all about, have you hit your targets this month? You've only got a week left and you've still not hit your target on how many people you've got embezzled the money out of, because it's changed completely. They are no longer policing common law. They are extorting commerce, extorting money instead. The roles completely changed. They are no longer doing what they should. And that's why, now, you know as well as I do, that's why the uniform colours changed.
Yeah. It
Because
should
now,
be blue and white, not black.
Yeah.
White.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got the Royal Constabulary, and then you've got the police force. Emphasis on the force.
That's why they were boys in blue, weren't they? I say you knew them, the boys in blue.
Yeah.
So what are they? Are they on performance-related pay now, or does that go towards their promotion?
What it is now, Simon, the government send each constabulary targets to hit. So, you know, they've got to, they've got to get, just for talking's sake, £10 million worth of fines, etc. in a year. Yeah. So they then put it down, the times that by a month, and they'll say, oh, you know, we need, this month we should have got, example, £8 million worth of fines. We've only got 6, we're falling behind. And then it's pressurising the constables and that are there, because it's no longer, it's now a business, because every police constabulary is registered company.
Literally every court, every constabulary is now registered on. Well, it has been quite well. They're all businesses. I mean, many people would have heard that. I mean, they do actually have quotas. It's like their statistics show this. They have a clampdown on, for instance, when they stop and search, they have a clampdown on drugs. They target certain crimes. They have a quota. They have a criteria. What a lot of people won't understand about the police is how the police first come about. When the police first started, it actually started with people getting stolen goods back from the thieves and selling them back to the people that got stolen from. Literally, that's how the police started. They would go and get the goods off of the people who nicked them and then sell them back to the people they are. That's how the police started in its essence.
Yeah.
And it hasn't really changed. It's still a business now. It's still going. And a lot of people don't realise as well. Have a look into your, for instance, the fines and the fine recovery companies. You'll find a lot of constables and a lot of lead constables are actually either shareholders or known down as managers and stuff like that. So we've actually got police who are issuing fines and they profit from the recovery of that fine.
Yeah.
Corruption.
It's shocking when you look into it, but people think that, you know, it sounds, that sounds too bad, that can't be true, but it is true, and that's the sad thing about it, and that's how blatant they are with it all. I'll send you something when we come off here, Simon, and shock you.
Yeah, all right then.
And this is going on in our hospitals.
Yeah, ping it to me.
I can't put it out there because it's an instant ban, etc. But I'll send it you privately, and you see, it's absolutely shocking. But you'll see for yourself when I send it. And that's going on in our hospitals. Well, in hospitals, it might not be in this country, but it's in some country, and it needs stopping.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if it's happening there, it's happening here, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be perfectly fair. Because our hospitals haven't been operating well, have they, for years before COVID?
Yeah, again, I would say when they put in middle management and remove matron, personally, the hospitals just went downhill.
I'd agree with that.
I've said this for years. Bring back matron, get rid of middle management.
Heavy, aren't they?
Yeah. It's all about. This is what I don't get. It's all about like scrimping and scraping pennies from here and that. So why are we paying like literally about £13 for a paracetamol?
Yeah.
When you can go to the shop and get them for 30p for like 20. This is where the a lot of it is laundering money. I mean, I've had this argument a lot with a few people. It's like with benefits. People actually don't know. People on benefits don't actually get their benefits from taxpayers. Taxpayers' money don't go towards people's benefits, not Indigenous people's benefits. It actually is you get paid a benefit because you're the beneficiary of a trust that's set up in your name, i.e. Mr. or Mrs. So, but it's a hardship payment. It's a benefit from your trust. Taxpayers' money, if people actually really dove into that, because I've been diving into it quite a bit, if you dove into what your money actually went on, you paid for literally about 3 to 4 countries weaponizing themselves, literally building an army so the WEF can build a massive world army. Literally, apart from Tartaria, or I would say the next one to it is British East India Tea Company. We've never seen an army this size and on this scale, not globally, since the British East India Tea Company. I mean, to understand the British East India Tea Company and the standing army, it's what turned into the British Army. It was literally a corporation. So imagine someone like Sainsbury's having their own army. So they would just go into countries and they would just like literally just kill people, take over farms, and reduce their outgoings and increase their profit. Literally, they had an army. I mean, look at the Silk Road. Talking about British East India Tea Company, the same people that literally is single-handedly to basically responsible for the opium epidemic in China in the 1800s. They went there and actually forced that on them. I mean, we're getting to that point again. We're going to have Klaus Schwab and his mates with a global army, literally a global army, and they're going to be able to enforce their will. I don't like the sound of that. I really don't. Especially with what's going on with Russia and China at the moment, because I just see that as a match to a powder keg, personally. I'd like to see, actually saying that, I would like to see war decided by the people properly. So rather than some bureaucrats or some bankers.
Well, if there is a war, it won't come out of Russia.
Well, this is the thing.
It'll be caused by somebody else. It'll be caused by the West.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're already gearing that up now.
Putin won't start it.
No, Putin's already said he's reactionary. He's not actually gone on the attack. He's always been reactionary so far. It's NATO. I mean, NATO is another thing we really have to deal with. To be honest.
But what annoys me with this lot, is they're all willing to send everybody else's children to these wars. But if anybody, there should be another red flag for anybody. When do you ever see the elites send any of their children, men or women, to the front line? You don't. If they do get involved in the war, they get a little cushy job in an office somewhere doing paperwork. They never go and fight the actual war. And that should also be, well, hang on a minute, you first. We'll follow, you go first and see how many wars are actually fought. If that happened, you wouldn't see many.
No.
Well, I was saying this the other day. It's like, if our king, who's already claimed to be king, and he's not our king until he actually fulfills the coronation, and it's the actual coronation, not the adapted one, the full coronation, it's the coronation oath done correctly. He's not king, and he never will be. I mean, in the coronation oath, we can actually deny him the crown. I think we should. I think we should deny him to the crown until our king is willing to go back to the times when the king led his men into battle. I want to see Charles on a horse or in a tank, and I want to see him rolling into like Russia first. Let's stick him and his kids in the tank. Let's do what it used to be like in the old days. The king would lead us in. When you do that, I'll back him because he'd be a king. But to sit a million miles away,
he'll not get through the commander's turret.
No, we know that. But it's the thing that I mean, I've been speaking to a couple of people that are out in Ukraine, and I'm not being funny. It's a meat grinder. It's an absolute massacre. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. And this is the thing. It's like we have no reason to be joining in. We have no reason to stick our noses in. This is a power grab. If people, this is where people like we were saying earlier, so this is where people have got to link the WHO, the WF, NATO, UN. These are all. Have a look who funds them. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation literally owns the WHO.
They're all linked together.
Yeah, it's being BlackRock, Vanguard,
UNICEF. How many times have they advertised, especially around Christmas? They're part of it. They're part of the UN. World Wildlife Fund. They're controlled by the UN.
Yeah,
And no money goes to conserve wildlife.
Yeah. And if you phone the PDSA up now and say, "Oh, got an injured bird," to say, "What do you want me to do about it?" Years ago, I used to come and fetch it and take care of it and all that. Just say, "Well, try your best. If it dies, it dies." Because again, they've had this, but they don't want to do nothing for it. They want the people to invest the money, but then the people that got working there, like years ago, was all, people that cared about animals. Now, like with any mouse jobs, it's just so much an hour job. Well, I've got this job working here or there, and I'm on this amount of money. But they ain't in it because they cared about the job or anything anymore. It's just a job.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going wrong. There's no, I've said this many times, while we've got apathy, things won't change. You need to get your empathy, compassion, and your love for one another and unite for the right cause, then you'll get change. While you've got everybody saying, "Well, it don't affect me," so till it does.
But it does.
Count me out. Yeah. That's no good.
It affects everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't realise, a lot of the time. You don't. Yeah, but it's true that people don't care about most things until it directly affects them. But if people were a little bit more proactive, they would see that ultimately it is going to affect them.
Exactly.
But everybody tends to be reactive now, don't they?
Yeah.
It's the proactiveness is gone.
Well, this is the thing. You take the early 1900s, even up to the thing is about what 1930s. We still had that air of I'm an Englishman and I will fight for injustice, even if it had nothing to do with us. We'd have a say on it.
Yeah.
We was a nation of complainers. It's like there could be an injustice in Africa. We're like, no, we're not having this. We shouldn't have this in the world. Where did that go? When did we stop standing up saying no? We have rights and this shouldn't be done, and there shouldn't be wrongs in the world. I mean, we do, but a lot of this is there's wrongs in the world. Let's pay a tax. Now, I've said this to you so many times. You've said it as well, Gary. It's like, look, for instance, since we've been in the EU, look how many taxes we've been paying. And if you look at the state of, I would say, people's way of living before we went into the EU and now, we're actually going backwards. So all these taxes and all the stuff we're paying, I mean, like the 2008 Climate Change Act, I think we're the only one really that's being put underneath that. It's like, what's it actually doing? It's actually destroying a lot of wildlife. Look at what the EU have done to the rivers in our country.
Yeah.
They literally have destroyed our river system. It's becoming a joke.
To me, we've got it all wrong. I mean, like the government, we've got veterans sleeping rough, dying in doorways, and other people, homeless people, all dying in shop doorways. And you bring it up and they say, yeah, we understand, we know that, but we've got to send all these weapons to Ukraine first. No, you look after your own first. The actual war in Ukraine's got nothing to do with us. Let's get these veterans, etc., sorted out. Let's get them home. Let's start putting our veterans in these 4-star hotels instead of the migrants. How about that? Let's start doing that and looking after the people that deserve it first, instead of just keep shipping them over. Let's do that. Let's all get together and do that.
We've had homeless on the streets for decades, Gary. Haven't we? Not just veterans, but normal people tend to end up on the street when they're down on their luck. And apart from good-hearted people that sort of pass them in the street, they don't get any assistance at all from the authorities, because they go to the authorities, they don't get the answer that's required. They go to somebody else in authority, they still don't get an answer that's required. And then they end up fading away on the street, and nobody cares that they've faded away and disappeared, gone off the end of the earth, so to speak. Yeah, but or they go and end it themselves, don't they? Because they find themselves in such a dark place and they can't deal with it any longer. And on the face of it, nobody in authority gives a damn about them. And
but this is where we as people, though, Simon, we should be saying, and I'll do it, right? I always mention it. This is where we should be coming together as people and say, no more migrants are coming across that channel till you've sorted these homeless and these veterans out. These are fair. And that's what we should be doing. And we should be making a stance on it. And if not, we should go to these hotels and drag them out and put our people in them.
Yeah.
Well,
if they ain't going to do it, then we'll do it for them. Okay, you don't want to listen to the people will do it themselves then.
Well, this is where
it's getting to that stage where I'm getting absolutely sick to death of it. Got to be honest.
Well, this is the reason why we have the right to rebel. I mean, one of the biggest things I've been going at as well is the way our veterans are treated themselves. Yeah, for instance, we've got certain. I mean, there's one in Portsmouth, there's one in Bath. We've got camps and places where veterans, like some say, good-hearted people, create space and create some support for them. But that's the people. It's not the government. It's not the authorities or the institutions doing this. It's happened so many times in our history. It's like with the Levelers movement. Look what they've done to the military then. As soon as it was all over, they then started prosecuting the military that fought for them for stealing horses and stuff like that.
That's right.
It keeps happening. As soon as you are not, as soon as you're not viable, shall we say, to use a better word, you're on the scrap heap. That's it. So as soon as you become a veteran, as soon as you're not serving, you have no use. It's out of sight, out of mind. You've done your use.
As soon as your use has been met, or your career comes to a juddering end, like when I signed up, early 80s, you could sign on for 3, 6, 9, 12, or 22 years. So whatever that contract is, once you've fulfilled it, you can decide to stay on or you just go. Well, if you decide to go, your number, if you like, is thrown in the trash. It's expired. It's no longer valid as a serving soldier's number. And you're thrown in the trash with it. And it doesn't matter whether that's after the 3, 6, 9, 12, or 22. I did best part of 23 years. And the only correspondence I get on a regular basis now is 1 letter a year from Army Pensions. And I get 1 letter a year from the Regimental Association, which says, can you please confirm this is still your current address and phone number? You don't hear anything else from them at all. Nothing.
No.
Absolutely nothing.
The same mechanism.
But when you look at Parliament, Simon, they've only got to serve 1 term in Parliament, and they get a nice cushy pension every year. Don't matter how long they live, they get that pension for the rest of their life, just for getting into power for 4 years. To me, it stinks, and it's all, like I said, it's all topsy-turvy. The right people ain't getting the right service or the right amount of value for the service, in my opinion. It's disgusting.
Well, it's like with a long march of freedom. It's like we need everybody in this, as many groups as possible. This is where we say no. I mean, listening to what we're saying here tonight, if you don't like the idea of not just our veterans, you've got literally a mass sways of young men on the streets now because of breakdown relationships. They're not being housed because they're not classed as a priority. You've got to the point now where you've actually got families that are living on the street because of rent issues, stuff like that. if you care about any of these, it's like, when are we actually going to, instead of like expect, because this is what people do. It's like we said earlier, people expect someone else to do it, or they want to pay someone else to do it. It's not my problem, someone else will sort it. But the problem is, this is your community, this is your society, so it is your problem whether you like it or not. When are we going to stop relying on the very authorities that are actually doing this to us? And this is what people are doing, and this is what you've got to understand. You're going to a government body that's actually setting out to actually put us destitute. It's actually to do this, to break us as a society, and then you're going to ask them for more. We need to stop. I mean, they're not the way. It's like Gary says, all they have to do is do one term, and they don't do any work, and then they get a cushy pension. While the people that do actually run the country, the people that do actually keep the cogs ticking, they're lucky if they get a state pension and a couple of quid extra on top. It's like you say that you've been going through the last few days, Gary. It's like with certain people, it's you can work all your life and you can be 75p over what they deem, and then your money is cut. You paid in the whole of your life, and then you've got to sit this. This is why I can't understand it. It's like the mentality. I mean, it's like our vets. I can understand why they're screwing. The sacrifices they made, just not just physically, mentally, and then to come back or to see what's going on now. You've got people, and they're paid the tax, they're paid into society more than most people. And then you've got people that haven't paid a single penny into our society, that literally get in 1 year. I think it was 1 year equals roughly 3 to 4 years of what a normal person would get that's Indigenous. So if you take what an immigrant's given, and I know there's a lot of things that's going to say fake news and certain things like that, but they are paid money on the card. They are, I mean, now.
Yeah, they are paid money on the card. That's been proven.
Yep.
And they get their meals, and they get clothing when they first land in.
Yep, and a phone contract that's completely paid.
Phone contracts, hand warmers, and God knows what else was all listed today off the government website.
The new contract they're putting out, as I mentioned there, they're actually house hunting them. A lot of the houses we set aside, because by law we're actually meant to set a lot of housing aside for emergency uses, but that's now going to be used for emergencies. But now I think it's between 4 and 6 years. They're guaranteed a tenancy, so these migrants are going to be given a house. Everything's going to be paid for, so rent, utilities, everything. Everything's paid for. Now, you've got disabled can't even get that.
Do you know what annoys me?
6 years, 11 months, I think it is, because then it becomes like squatters' rights, and they can keep the house then.
Exactly, it comes under a common law.
So it's got to be 6 years, 11 months, and then they have to be moved on somewhere else.
Yeah. But do you know what shocks me and what boils me up? It's more than anything the way we handle things in this country. You seen the other day on GB News, I think he was interviewing this person in Newquay, but he was on, and this bloke come on, and he said the young girls have been given, training, self-defense classes to help them, and never been told not to travel alone on the streets, etc., etc., etc. So they ain't getting rid of the problem. They're teaching you how to possibly help fend off the problem. Now, I can guarantee you, and you know this, Simon, you have this same problem in a Mexican town or another town, Chile or wherever, South America or wherever, have this problem. They wouldn't be teaching them self-defense lessons. These people would be gone.
That's right. That's right. They would be gone.
And this is where we're making our mistake. We're too accommodating. Instead of saying, no, we're not teaching these young girls to do anything. You're going to be off back where they've come from because they're no good.
Again, this is where our constitution comes in, because we should feel safe and secure and feel at peace within our communities. And this is what people got to realise. I mean, take the migrant situation. It's like, it astounds me. It's like between 11 countries between us and the nearest war-torn country. So that the whole thing there from a war-torn country kind of flies out the window. But when did we stop really? I mean, literally, if I was to say something on here now, it was controversial. There's a good chance I would be facing a charge charged for causing an offence. Now, not being that's in itself. I offended someone, so I should be charged, and that could be constituted as a crime because it'd be illegal.
Yeah.
So, what is it with people when they realise it's like they're illegal immigrants? They're actually criminals. So at the moment, our RNLI, the government, I believe there's actually companies that do the wind farms that are now actually taking up contracts to help ferry these people across. Well, if you took, say, back in the 90s, it happened a lot. How many lorry drivers got fined or imprisoned because they had stowaways that come over on their trucks? Loads. There was a massive like drive for it, and it was the truckers that got prosecuted. So why is it that they got prosecuted, but when the government does it, it's okay to bring illegal immigrants across? I don't get it.
But I put that out on a video some time ago, that there's only really two types of immigrant: legal and illegal.
Yeah.
Forget all the other breakdowns of economic and refugee and this, that, and t'other. It's just you're either legal or you're not. And if you're not, as the good book says, you're arrested and detained.
Yeah.
And you're held until such times as you're deported. Now, those rules still exist under the laws of the sea. So why don't they use them?
Well, this is the thing. We do actually have laws where we could actually defend our shores and we could actually sort of stop these coming over in the channel ourselves. But again, it takes the people to unite. And this is the fundamental thing. Every single problem we spoke about tonight, if you look at the problem, what's the main cause? Bureaucracy and politics. It's at the heart of everything.
Yeah.
So eventually, every single group, whether you're for 5G, migrants, protecting our children, for vets, any of them, it doesn't matter, any of them. We all need to start actually coming together now and saying no en masse. And there's a way of saying no. It's no good. This is why the Long March to Freedom is not going to be a one-day thing. This is why you need a tent and stuff like that. I'm not going to get in too much into that tonight. We're going to release more information next couple of weeks. But turning up and going home is not the way you say no. Pen is mightier than the sword, as they say. If you are going to remove your consent, you have to remove it. So you have to remove yourself from the electoral. Otherwise, you're under the Representation of People's Act, and they're going to use your tacit consent or your implied consent. If you don't submit paperwork in the right way, you are acquiescing. Because if you don't say no, you're saying yes. Because unfortunately, in our laws, silence is consent. So just coming onto Facebook or YouTube and having a rant on that and saying I don't consent, just shouting in the street, that doesn't stop it. You've got to learn how to lawfully remove consent. Once we do that en masse, a lot of problems will stop. And for that, you need to look at our laws, constitution and common law, because that's where we get the basis for us being able to say no, like the law of constraint. We have the right to rebel, and we have the right to use constraint, and that is force. We can take our country back by force if needed. It's there for a reason. That's why Article 61 is still in force, and it's such a big thing. It's like a lot of people say that it was rewritten and stuff like that. It wasn't. There was consecutive versions that was submitted, but they're unlawful by its very definition because you're not allowed to change. It's a peace treaty. You're not allowed to change the terms of the contract without all parties agreeing to it. It's a fundamental part of our laws. So 1215 still stands, as Lord Ashbourne and loads of people will attest to. It's even being admitted in court. I've had it upheld in court. I've even court orders mentioned the Magna Carta in it as well. But they can't get rid of it. It's a peace treaty. It's ours. And in that, we have the ultimate law. That's why they call it, it's known by a lot of names, but it's also known as the Kingslayer, because there was a time when the king was beyond reproach. But Article 61 is where we get the very basic understanding of nobody is above the law. And unless we start using the right laws, we're going to be bound by the legislation. And it's just going to keep dragging us deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
And this is how
just to answer
Sorry.
a question here, Luna's put a question up saying, Simon, you should have addressed this during your Rolling Thunder demo in September 18. That wasn't my demo. That was Harry Ragg, who's now dead. So just to put that straight, that wasn't my demo. Rolling Thunder never had anything to do with Rolling Thunder other than support it. So that was Harry Ragg, the late Harry Ragg.
See, this is the thing as well. It's like this. We was discussing this earlier, so it's like there's a lot of people that are going to have problems from the past, and there's people that we've had problems with, people that's had problems with us. But it's like you said, Simon. It's like surely, I mean, we've all got something to add to this. So when you think of the bigger picture, every single group, every single members of each group, we've all got something to give towards this.
Yeah.
If we can just put our personal gripes and the crap aside, stop mudslinging and get the job done, we can go back to bickering. The thing we love so much, we can go back to after we've got our rights back. Because once we get our rights, our freedoms and our liberties back, you'll find most of this changes and society change for the better. Then we can go back to bickering with each other. But we need to put that aside and concentrate.
Yeah, that's right. But you see, in the days when we had the Ariana Grande concert bombing happened, and then 2017, that's when I started to go sort of on the streets, and that continued right through to 2020. Because I've got one of those sort of unforgettable faces, and I'm sort of always prepared to stand up there and shout the truth, people automatically think that I've organised every single thing going, whereas that's not the truth. Just because I'm there doesn't mean I've organised it. It means that I've been invited to do a speech. And because I research everything and do my due diligence, that's why I get invited to do the speeches. But then people inflame things and get a little bit confused and automatically think that I'm the leader of the pack. Not correct. And that's the exact thing that's happening with every single group out there. And that's why we haven't got unity. Because people say, oh, it didn't work. It's his fault. He was there. I saw his face. It's his fault. It's nobody's fault, is it?
It's nobody's fault. It's like I said, Nathan, it's on what to tell you. If we'd have done the corn arrest this year, instead of 5 years ago, I think he would have succeeded now. But unfortunately for us, we did it too soon. But it doesn't make it was a failure because of us. It was a failure because it was just the wrong time. The people wasn't ready to back it. But if you did that same action now, that man would probably be behind bars because people would have backed it in this climate we've got now.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's just...
Yeah.
You know, Keir Starmer and Khan for two. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would like to see them up on charge, and they did. Again, a lot of people think it was a flop because there were certain people that it was entrusted to within the White Pen Dragons that didn't follow it up. But when we formed CMW, we actually took hold of it again, and we actually followed it up properly, and that's when we got the police to actually backed our crimes with evidence of crimes proven. So that's how, and it got to CPS. That's the closest anybody's ever got to actually prosecuting an MP or any of Parliament. Literally, all we needed was more people to back our charges than voted for them, and then we'd have had it. Just enough pressure put on CPS, and them charges haven't gone because there's no statute of limitations on treason. It's like because we've been compounding it over the years. It's like you said, Simon. It's like you stepped back. Me and Gary done the same thing. We thought, right, well, we've got to focus on proving this and getting certain things cemented. So not only have we got the police that backed it, I also got a judge to put it on court record. We've had a number of courts where the sedition treason has not been rebutted or questioned. So it's like a hot potato. We just need the people to actually back it. If we can get it focused, and this is where unity really is key. Because you've got groups out there for 5G, you've got groups out there about grooming our children, you've got groups out there about paedophilia within our authorities. All these groups could get all the evidence we need to bring every single one of these MPs to account, and all them groups could literally put it all towards these charges, and then we'd all bring about a change. We'd actually all bring about a lawful solution to what we need, and that would involve and this is why we keep saying unity is key, because not one group can do this, not one person can do this, but if every single group out there got the evidence, and most of you have got it, believe it or not, You've got evidence of the crimes. We just need to put it together in a case and put it towards the authority, put it in the right manner. I mean, the police will back treason and sedition once. They'll back it again if it's on a bigger scale. It could be the very thing that tips it. But there's a lot of things. Like Gary says, there's a lot of things. We need to start bringing these to account. We need to start getting the barons involved. We need to do our oaths. Everybody needs to do their Article 61. It's like Gary said earlier, it removes your fealty. It's diffidatio. So your allegiance. And this is a big thing. When you vote, you're giving your allegiance to these MPs. So you're backing them. You're literally signing a blank check. And then you're wondering why they don't listen to you. Because they don't have to. As soon as they're elected, that's it. They've got your consent. They've got 4 years of it. They don't need to keep asking you. They've already asked you once and you give it. So it's time we come away from it. It's time we all come together. And like I said, if the group's just united, we hold every single group out there holds the information and the evidence to actually prosecute these people. We just need to come together.
A couple of people here. I don't know if you noticed in the comments.
I haven't been paying attention.
Watlin Boy and Simon talking about regroup. So there needs to be a regroup to get unity and everyone on board.
Well, this is what the long march.
Regroup, top idea. And that is a top idea, isn't it? Just regroup, start afresh. With everything on a long list, and everybody head for that long list.
Exactly. Wipe our mouths of the past and move forward. I mean, that's what the Long March of Freedom's doing. We're actually gathering. We've already got a massive list of like the gripes people have. So again, 5G things like that. And this is what it's about. It's a march that's going to bring unity. It's not a one-day thing, and it's not a march like you think. And this is where we're going to get some bonding and stuff like that. This is where we need all walks of life. We need everybody to bring, because like I keep saying, not one group will do this, and every single group out there has got more to offer to the bigger picture than I think they actually realise. But if we all come together, we'll see that.
Because they've been concentrating on one thing, you know, they've become subject matter experts on it because they've hit it from so many different angles now and researched it that well. So, KC, use away that on your open letter to the military. No problem with that, bud. Use away.
Again, it comes down to
I've only got this one phone. I can't see, because I'm in the StreamYard, I can't see the comments. So
it's difficult to see it. I can't see them because I haven't even got my glasses on.
But basically, the Long March of Freedom is exactly that. It's everybody's march. Like I said, any colour, doesn't matter what colour, creed, religion, and anything you are, you're more than welcome, because we're all in the danger exactly the same. And then every group's welcome. Bring your banners. Bring it, everything you need to do what your cause is, whether it's 5G, whether it's the vaccines, whether it's save the children, you know, whether it's climate change that you're against, and it's all bull. Doesn't matter what you're, what you're there for, should all be on this march united, and let's deal with it all in one place together.
Exactly. And it's like Gary says, on the Long March of Freedom, we want banners. We want you displaying things. It doesn't matter what groups are there. If all groups are there being represented, every single form of walk of life will have one cause they can get behind. And you get behind that one, you get behind them all, then it's people power. But bring your banners. I mean, show everybody. I mean, one thing I think that sort of went and stopped a lot of things in its tracks is people stop representing the problems that are going on. And we've had a few years where everybody seems to think that every single protest is about COVID or so. When it's not. It's the grooming of our children. It's the vets. So we need to start, again, showing the many vast, it's like the list we're putting together. There's a lot on it already. But there's vast amounts of, how can I say this, injustice going on. And that needs to be seen. We need to show the world, and we need to show the powers that be and the world exactly what we're fighting against. So we're going to need everybody to have their banners. Be proud of the cause you're fighting for, because you're doing what's needed. You're doing your duty.
Yeah.
And it's time everybody in every community got behind stopping these injustices. Because if you're not, you're actually complicit to it. So you're actually part of their crimes. So if you think it's abhorrent, then do something about it. Otherwise, you're just bad as them.
we just thought that instead of a group going with COVID 1 week and then 2 or 3 weeks later the next group's there doing 5G and then the next week it's Save the Children, we thought what a better way and to show the government is for all these groups to come together and all do it on one massive big march where you all march down there together. They can see then that everybody's united. All these different causes are all united under the same banner as we
But
know.
that's what I mean about people being in several groups. They sort of go and support the 5G this week because that's the first one up. And then next week's about the kids. And they say, oh, I can't afford to do that because I've just been the 5G one. So if you do one a month, you're probably only doing one in every 5 groups that you support protest wise. So it makes more sense, doesn't it? Just to put everything under one hat.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
move
that's what I'm saying. If we do one massive march for freedom, like we're trying to do now, but like I said, no leaders, every group turns up and we all march together. There's no leaders or organisers. It's just a concept.
Don't need
it's
leaders.
A concept that's been put together where all the groups come together, then you just go and do it together.
Leaders lead to ego, and as soon as you got ego, it's my group's louder than your group, and we're back to square one.
It ain't about that.
Don't need leaders.
Everybody is 100% equal, and everybody is
about
just
numbers.
as relevant as the next man. Yeah. Especially under 61, it doesn't matter if you're a constable in the army, whether you're a mechanic or a milkman. Under 61, we are all equal. In fact, under Article 61, you actually have a duty. So if you've got anything, for instance, like you, Siren, and the vets, you've got experience. So under 61, you actually have a constitutional duty to make sure that your skill set is used to the best way it can be for the outcome you want. So we all have to chip in. We all have to do our best. We've all got areas where we're going to be able to do things. It's like someone said there about a PayPal. No PayPals. We don't need it. We just need a community. When the people start coming together and we work together, you'll watch bigger things happen with people's just basically hearts and just generosity. You'll find better than any PayPal or anyone that gets a PayPal and pays for it. You'll see a community really move mountains. And that's what this march is about.
Sounds good to me.
There is other aspects and that lot to it, things like that, but that is the main principle. It's about getting everybody together, showing everybody that we're not really actually that different. And if we all boil it down to its basic primary aspects, we're all going after the same people and after the same things. So let's just drop the crap and let's just start talking.
That's it. Danny, I've got your message off of there, mate. So I'll reply to that a bit later on, buddy, if you're still online.
Yeah. Sounding nice.
I mean, there is. We can say a couple of bits. It's like it is. Because people keep asking, is it family friendly? Yes. For CMW wise, we want to try and if we can, and we can get it organised. We want to do kind of it to be slightly educational. So if the kids come on it, we did say we're going to do a thing. We're going to teach the kids and the adults. So if you're an adult and you are carrying a backpack with all the tent and that lot, you are a peasant from 9 till 6 p.m. So you're going to live the life of a peasant. So you're going to realise what it's like to live life as a peasant back in the old days, like 12, 15. And if you're a child under the age of 16, you're going to be lords, ladies, or knights. So yeah, you're pretty much, you are the cream of the crop, and you've got your peasants to do your bidding. And there's going to be other aspects to it in that as well. We're going to try and make it slightly educational. So you're going to learn about for instance, definitely the Magna Carta, because it's the founding document of our constitution. So we're going to try and teach a lot about that. Along the route, you're going to be able to learn a bit about your common law rights and stuff like that, and the constitution, about history, and more importantly, the whole point is it's not for a lot of people. No, it's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be easy. You're not having everything planned for you, so you go in bed. But this is going to show you exactly what it takes and sacrifices you have to make to get freedom. And it's to show you there's countless generations that have had to do this before us, whether it be 12, 15, 1300, 1600s. Generations before us have had to do it in a lot harsher conditions, under a lot worse, with a lot worse fates than that as well. So it's going to show the children how much freedom actually means, and what you have to do to it. So it's teaching our future generations. It's also going to hopefully reignite it in us to actually feel freedom and actually fight for freedom, because you don't know what it is until it's actually gone, and you'll see that.
Hopefully it's going to make people bond together. So when you actually get there, you know, other marches where you all just arrive in London and you speak to each other for an hour or so and you go, because you've done the march, we're hoping that it's going to make people bond like you do in the army, Simon, when you bond and you become a family. That's right. What we want to get back, so everybody learns what empathy and compassion and that is again, because we've seemed to have lost that, in my opinion, 100%.
And it takes time. That bonding takes time, as you're aware, Gary. So, you know, if people don't start sort of bonding now, well, things aren't going to be good in our lifetime. It's all going to be.
Yeah, no. I mean, this is another reason why the march is not going to be over a day or 2 days. It's going to be a period of time, because I mean, a lot of people can make excuses. I've got work. I've got kids. I've got school. You can make any excuse you like, but all that's going to be if you read the national, international health regulation amendments and stuff like that, and you know what's coming, it's all going to be a material soon anyway. But, you either fight now or you lose it all. So you might as well give it a go now. Basically, it's like Gary's just saying there, and Simon sort of back to it's attrition. We are going to bond through attrition. And that, as you agree, Simon, it's one of the best ways the army use it. Many people do it. It's like we're going to have to rely on each other to get through this. So we are going to be thrown in at the deep end. So, like Luna says, is this all going to be for free? Yes, Luna, basically, you've got to bring your own tent, sleeping bag, cooking utensils, stuff like that, and a bit of money for your food. Whether you live on a packet of noodles a couple of times a day or whatever, I'm sure there will be some sort of community spirit going on in some ways. It depends what we can get organised. But it's going to cost you nothing to walk. We're trying to make this as simple as possible, but a lot of this is to basically put pressure on the community. We're going to put pressure on you. It's done in a way to put pressure, so we actually bond in the correct manner. Because by the end of this march, should be a big group of people. Hopefully, a lot of people are going to join us. You can either join us on it or you can join us at the end. But by the end of this march, there should be a group of people from different walks of life, from different groups that have bonded and can show a way forward. And that's the whole point of this. It's not just a march and then go home. There's a means to an end with this one.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, if you don't, you've got to be in it to win it, as they say.
I mean, like I said, there's a lot we can't. There's a lot we're not going to be releasing, and a lot we're not going to be talking about. You have to be on the march. Yes, there's going to be lives and stuff like that. There's going to be things on the marches and certain things like that. That's sort of we do, speeches, certain things like that. So, still organising certain bits, but this is not something that's been going to be organised from beginning to end. Like I said, this is for everybody to come along. CMW, we've got a kind of a plan on what we're going to be doing, but nobody else has to do it. As long as we start and we finish in the same place and we do it together, and that's all that matters, really. That's all that should matter to any of us at the moment, starting to unite so we can actually fight against these injustices.
Yeah.
It's time to do it, people. And yes, it's sacrifice now or we lose it all later on, because when they say you will own nothing and be happy, they mean you will not have your private car, you will not own your house, you will not have anything. So there's many people that are on the march that's going to sacrifice. I mean, there's people to say that they could lose access to their children and stuff like that, but it's worth it because it's securing their future. And that's what you've got to understand. It's securing our children's future because they haven't got one the way it's going. I can assure you.
And like I say, most of my posts at the end, as the Bible says, you will reap what you sow. If you sit and do nothing, then you can't expect anything but to be enslaved. It's down to every individual. You want to change, you've got to step up and make that change. Can't keep leaving it to others. Sorry, guys, it's just the way it is.
This is it.
Totally agree.
You know,
Totally agree.
We've all got to start taking responsibility at some point. When do we take
Let's do it.
responsibility?
So I'll meet up with you next week.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And then we're gonna have a little chat and that lot. Believe me and Gary have got a couple of other shows we're doing this week as well. A lot going on, a lot of talking. This is the thing. I'm already kind of hopeful because there's groups I never thought that would sort of discuss being in the same place. I mean, we've got the younger generation, we've got the older generation, which it's looking very promising. It's like, but then again, I think because a lot of people are really starting to understand now, it's like this goes across the board.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about, again, if we boil it down to its basic fundamental points, we're all fighting the same battle, really. It's all against the same people. And if we all unite and we all attack and we all get our freedoms, our liberties, and actually get the law upheld, we're actually all fighting for each and every one of the causes as well as our own. And that's what people got to realise. You'll be fighting for all of them as well as your own, and you've got more chance of yours being successful if everybody actually fights for it.
Cool.
so well, it's good to see you again, Simon. And I'll send you that.
Used to get back in the fray now.
Yeah, I'll send you that thing again in a bit. I'll send it you through.
All right, then, mate.
See what you make of it. Absolutely disgusting, but that's the thing. You can't, in a normal world, you'll be able to put that out and alert everybody to it. But unfortunately, you can't.
No, you can't do anything like that now. But the world and its dogs watching you now. They're expecting
all you can do is share it on privately, and that's how you have to spread it. Because if you put it on Facebook or whatever, straight away 30-day ban, or even your channel took altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're expecting stuff now, so they're watching you like hawks.
Yeah.
Oh well, it's what it is.
That's why things have to be done lawfully and peacefully. Like I said, we're not going to release the ins and outs of what we're doing on the march because a lot of it's just irrelevant for now. But again, there's going to be some surprises. So like I said, it's like you need to be on it. It's one of them. It will be made by the people coming together. So if you really want change, make the effort, be on the march. Yes, it's not it's turn up and go home. It could be 4 days, it could be a week, it could be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The whole point is it's like this is going to be one massive bonding exercise, and there is actually a goal at the end of this. Not just to sort of highlight the problems. This is about solutions. So it's going to be, like the list we put up there on the left hand is just the start of the list that we're being given by people that are saying this is what this march should encompass, and all these things, and these are just some of the causes. Now, if you think about all them coming together, that is a very, very powerful thing indeed. Very powerful.
Yeah.
So get your tent, get a sleeping bag, get a decent pair of walking boots, save a bit of money. I mean, technically speaking, you don't need a lot of money. It depends. You just have to be thrifty with what you eat, stuff like that. But everybody will be responsible for their own sort of food and that lot. But I don't know. It depends. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Like I said, there may be some decent farmers who might help us out in certain ways. We don't know.
And forget politics.
Yeah.
Forget your politics. It doesn't matter what side of politics you're on. We've all got the same problem, and that is the government's trying to enslave us all. So that should be the main problem. Forget coming with your politics, because politics is not working at this moment in time.
No.
You've got to get your freedoms in that back before and get rid of these the shadow government before you can even think about politics again.
Right, message has actually just come up for me now. This is the thing. This is the thing. Politics and religion. Got two of the main things people argue about. You don't have to argue about it. You just got to realise it's a difference of opinion. But like we keep saying, at the very basics, we all have the same fundamental principles. It's morals. What's right and what's wrong. Do you think people should just illegally be able to come into this country and not have to obey our laws? Then do something about it. If you think children should be protected and should be able to walk the streets without the risk of harm or something like that, do something about it. Why we sit back and we do nothing? We're consenting to this all. We're not doing anything. And the government are taking advantage of that.
Here's a little heads up for you, those in to do what we've just brought up. If it's religion, don't forget these people don't want anybody's religion. They want a one world religion, and that religion will be Luciferianism. It's not going to be, Judaism. It's not going to be Christianity. It's not going to be, Islam. It's going to be Luciferianism, Satanism. And as for the government, there's going to be no left or right conundrum. It's going to be you do as you are told, government. So, and there'll be things that it doesn't matter what political side you are. I'm non-political. I don't like politics. Never have done. I don't think it serves anybody. I think we've got natural laws, etc., that we could do ourselves with anyway. But whichever side of the fence you sit on, you're going to disagree with certain things. But these people are knocking all that out the ballpark because it's just going to be no. There's no left. There's no right anymore. There's just you do as you are told.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine. That's what you've got to remember when you start with your politics at this moment in time. There won't be no politics. There'll be no governments around the world. It'll all be sectioned off into areas, and you'll have local council areas for the New World Order, and that's where it'll be run from, different regions. But you'll have no world governments. There'll be no countries with these people. You're going to lose it. There'll be one world. People don't realise this yet, but go and look it up. There'll be one world language, and that will be English. So a lot of cultures are going to lose. Spanish. Yeah, a lot of cultures are going to lose their identity completely. Culture, religion, language. Is that what people really want? Because it's not what I want. I want everybody to live like we lived when I was growing up. Free countries. Everybody's got their own culture, language, etc., and you just do business together. There's nothing wrong with that. It's only when you get greedy politicians that want it all that you get in a situation like we are now. But we've got the power to stop it. That's what you've got to understand. That we've got the power to stop it if we want to. But it's a big if at this moment in time. It's not a lot of people are getting on board with this. They'd rather be enslaved. And God only knows why you'd want that instead of freedom, liberty, and everything else. I just don't get it. Sorry.
That's all right. To Luna, it doesn't matter who turns up. This march is open, everyone. It's for everybody. Again, the basis of this march is for our rights, our freedoms, our liberties. So it doesn't matter what side of the coin or where you fall. If you believe in free speech, if you believe in your right to life, liberty, and all stuff like that, then you should be on this march. As Gary says, the politics and the different groups, you're just going to have to learn to just, like, if you've got that all saying, if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say it. Just learn. I mean, you don't have to. You can literally be on the same walk, and you don't have to interact with each other. You just have to respect the fact that everybody's equal and everybody has a right to be on the march. That's it. That's when you start to really get to our freedoms, our liberties, and our rights, and actually start upholding common law and our constitution, because everybody's equal, everybody has the right. So if it doesn't matter if patriotism is alternative, it doesn't matter if Antifa. They should all be welcome with open arms until they do something that the march itself puts them outside of that. If they become outside that, they are outlaws. So they'll be pretty much upholding treason or doing something. Then they can be asked to either be at the back or to stay away. This is where, like I said, we've got to have to start being mature. But we can't have this where we need to be babysat and stuff like that. We're going to have to get on with each other. We're going to have to just put our crap aside. So when all said and done, what we need to get done gets done. Like I said, we can go back to arguing the toss and taking pot shots at each other afterwards, because we'll not be funny, we'll actually get the right to freedom of speech then, so we have the right to attack each other again. So I mean, great feelings, but anybody's allowed on the march, like I said, but you've got to be responsible for your group and yourself utmost, and that's what we've got to learn. It's to be responsible for our own actions, because when we can be responsible for our actions, when we can act in the appropriate manner, then we'll have the right to then go up against government and other people in the police and say, well, you're not acting correctly. This is what people got to realise. It's to show the authorities that we're not taking it no more. We're going to act accordingly. We're going to act within inside the law, and if they don't, they're outside the law. So therefore, they're against the people. It's as easy as that.
Yeah, that's simple. Yeah, so wrap it up there now. I think we've been on nearly 2 hours.
Yeah. Right, anything else you want to drop in before we go, Simon?
No, I've covered, I think, now. I'll come down and see you, and then
yeah, then we'll jump and do another one after that.
yeah.
Right, yeah, so that's answers a couple of questions I've been said. Yes, Simon will come on again. He's going to come down, make me have it. We're going to chew the fat over a couple of things, and then we'll sort out another live.
Yeah,
I think me and Gary are live this week at some point. I think maybe Thursday again with another group. Got a few things coming up. I'm going to have to check before I say anything. But yeah, if there's nothing anyone wants to add, thank you for coming on, Simon.
Whilst you do your other bits and bobs, I'll look in on you. So I can just pick up on stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing.
Don't forget,
As I get back
Simon,
in the loop.
Yeah.
Say again?
when you go live, if you tag me in now, if you need, we'll share it on our wall as well.
Aye, okay then, mate. Yeah, cool.
That's what we need to do.
No, when you put on going live tonight or whatever, just tag me in now. If you need, we'll share it on our wall as well. So that's what we're on about. Start getting unity.
Yeah, definitely. All for that, mate. All for that. It's long overdue.
Well, like I said, we're already. It's quite compelling, because we're already starting to get. Like I said, there's some of the youth groups that are from the younger generations. There's the vets. There's even though I think some of the football lads are getting on this. There's quite a few. A lot of different groups are sort of saying they're interested and they're going to come on this. So
yeah,
unity is happening. It's just we have to keep pushing it. And unfortunately, people, you've got to understand that unity lies with us. It's down to each and every. Like I keep saying about Constable Set, we're all responsible for our own actions. So it's each and every single one of us have a duty to make sure this works and unity is achieved. So if you're not doing your part, then like Simon said earlier, understand that you're the problem. And you're the reason why it won't happen. If you want it, you'll get it.
Get stuck in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep fighting and follow through.
Exactly.
That's it, son.
All right. Right. Thank you for coming on, Simon. I'll chat to you next week.
Cool.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you for everybody in the chat.
Thanks everybody for listening.
It's been an honour as always. All right.
Always a
Let's
pleasure.
get
everybody.
this done. We can do this. We can do it. Come on.
We can get this done. We've just got to keep at it now. Keep at it.
Yeah. That's it.
Just focus. Focus and get
let's-
it done.
Let's start pushing the unity. Let's make this happen.
Outstanding.
All right. Right. Night, everybody. We'll
Thank you,
catch next
gentlemen.
time.
Ladies, gentlemen, thank you. Good night.
All right.
Thanks,
care.
guys. See you all soon.